This is the Retro Hunting Adventures with your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and I've got a lot of stuff to catch up on right now, so without further ado, let's get into it, starting with an introduction from our good friend, Megaran.
Yo, this is Megaran, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
I'm going to go ahead and show this one off real quick, and then we'll continue with the rest of what I've got in stock. So this would be the point at which I admit I know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Other than the name Yu-Gi-Oh! I know they used to show it as part of the Toonami block on Cartoon Network / Adult Swim. I also know that I never watched it. I'm more of a Lupin the Third kind of guy, a Cowboy Bebop kind of guy. Card trading anime, not exactly my cup of tea. So Yu-Gi-Oh!, Beyblade, things like that, not too familiar with them. But I'm willing to give it a chance since it was a free game that came out of a retro swap box. Well, I guess free might not be the right word since I put stuff in and took stuff out, but I didn't have to go buy it, is the way I would put it. I traded for it, so might as well see what I got and see if it was worth the trade. And at the start, we've got this guy with only his eyes showing who is apparently speaking to me as the prince. I'm Prince MMF187, which I only did because there were only 6 characters in the field to enter your name, so I'm like, well, that's already my YouTube handle. I might as well fill it in. I didn't realize he'd be addressing me by name every single time as MMF187. I thought that would just be like my save file. Most of the time he just shortens it to Prince though, which saves a lot of time and trouble. And speaking of trouble, there's things brewing at the palace. Apparently this evil dude has summoned some sort of dark power, and he's using the dark power to invade and take the king and queen hostage, and then he comes looking for us as the young prince. But this wizard with his crooked staff that looks like a shepherd's crook, he's basically gonna like shepherd us out, no pun intended, but he's like, I ain't gonna let you be captured. This whole castle may be in ruins, but I'm still gonna make sure you don't fall to the hands of this evil looking dude here with the goatee. So he's the one that's leading us out of danger, but as it turns out, it really doesn't do any good, because even if you do exactly what he tells you to do, like he gives you the option to stay or run, well, you can choose to stay and he just ignores you. It's going to force you to run because that's the path the game wants the plot to go down. So it's not really a choice. It looks like it's a choice, but it's not. Games like that are always kind of annoying to me, but it's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is even if you do choose to run, you still have to get out your deck of cards and duel, because it wouldn't be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game if you didn't duel somebody. So it completely ignores whatever you want to do and forces you into a card battle, whether you like it or not. And that's where I really get stuck with this game, because I have no experience with the card battle. I don't have the trading cards, so I wouldn't have any prior knowledge going in as to how a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card trading battle works. And if this was a complete in-box game with the instruction manual, maybe I could have thumbed through it first and been like, okay, this is how you build a deck, right? You choose these elemental types. They are stronger against these things. They're weaker against these things. The number of hit points you have matters. Choose cards that are high in hit points. Try to acquire more of them, etc. But nope, I have no idea what kind of cards are best here. I just picked a card at random, threw it down. My opponent throws down one card of his own, and he completely destroys my card in one turn. So for me, that's about enough Yu-Gi-Oh! For one day. Thankfully, we can move on from that to some Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games. I've got Tecmo Super NBA Basketball right here. That also came from the Retro Swap Box. I've got Far East of Eden 0, which I picked up not long ago at Pop Culture. Hadn't gotten around to testing it yet. I've also got Romancing Saga 2. We'll test that as well. And then Famitsu Baseball 3. So 4 games that we can all try on my modded Super Nintendo. And it goes a little something like this. Hit it! We have the Namcot logo. We have Famitsu Baseball 3. This one took me quite a while to clean. I went through 4 Q-tips and no small amount of rubbing alcohol. This cartridge was very well used when the previous owner traded it in, but I did manage to get it working. And I think after that much effort, I'm just going to let the demo play as opposed to actually trying to play the game and figure it out for myself. But you get the idea from looking at the demo. It's a baseball game. It's kind of the cute 'em up of baseball games. We've got super deformed, very cute looking characters, but it appears there's quite a bit of depth in terms of options for teams you can select, the players that are on those teams, the options for how you control those players. It seems quite customizable, so probably what I'm going to do is look for an English localization patch, or maybe find out if there's a North American release equivalent that was localized, and then I'll just play that on my SD to SNES. But Famitsu Baseball 3 is a working game. Hooray! So we can move on. Now, happily, Romancing Saga worked on the first try, or should I say Romancing Saga 2. No cleaning required. This was good to go. By the way, when I said modded, I don't mean there's a chip inside of it. All I mean is that Fix-It Phil opened it up and broke off the plastic tabs that prevent you from inserting a Super Famicom cart into a Super Nintendo. That's it. You break off those little plastic tabs, and you got yourself a region-free Super Nintendo. And that could be for the better or the worse, because a lot of these import games are very heavy on the Japanese. So if you're not entirely fluent, you probably just want to get a hacked version by patching it with a English translation and then load it onto a EverDrive Super SD to SNES type of device. Other than that, you may not get very far. But at least with Romancing Saga 2, you can enjoy the intro sequence. It's quite long and pretty epic, and you get this feeling of the breadth and depth of the game because it shows you all these different worlds and all these different lands and all these different people that are all presumably in peril unless you as the protagonist choose to go on your heroic quest and save them all. Otherwise, everyone will be left in ruins from one end of the land to the other. And I do mean from one end to the other because it scrolls all the way across all these different areas. The mountains, the plains, the deserts, the temples. You get to see it all during this intro. I think I let it run for something like 7 or 8 minutes and it still wasn't finished. In fact, it went into a non-controllable battle sequence where the characters were doing the typical side of view combat like Final Fantasy II, where the monsters are on one side, you're on the other, and everybody takes a turn doing their attack or their magic or their cure if they need to heal up. There's a lot of shit going on in this intro cut sequence, so it's quite impressive. It's quite long, and if you just wanted to sit and watch it, even without knowing Japanese, you could probably enjoy yourself a hell of a lot. But I'll look for a patch so I can really dig into the meat and potatoes of this game on my SD to SNES. The one I won't be able to play on that is Far East of Eden 0 because it has a special chip inside that is so unusual it's not in the mappers that are supported by Crix. He hasn't got around to developing any way to update the firmware for it. He's done it for the Super FX chip, but not for this SPC 7110. And it's giving me an error message to boot telling me that the battery backups in here are no good. So I'm apparently going to have to pop it open and fix the batteries before it's even going to let me play, which is kind of frustrating. It's a working cart, but I can't do anything with it until I do that. Oh well. Finally, we have Tecmo Super NBA Basketball, which happily worked on the first try, like Romancing Saga 2 and Far East of Eden 0, even though it didn't actually let me play, it at least showed me that it was working. But this one definitely is, and I don't even think I need to show you the gameplay for an NBA game. You run, you jump, you shoot, you block, you foul, you go to the free throw line, you shoot threes, you try to win the game. If you know basketball, you know this game. And at least it's got a nice opening cutscene. The characters you're seeing aren't the most or the least realistic. They're somewhere in the middle, but it seems like pretty decent quality for the 16-bit era. And I'll get into this one more in depth when I don't have so many things to test, but we must move on. Here we have Worms World Party, which I will be testing momentarily. Also, Persona 5, don't have a PS3 downstairs, so I won't be testing that. Ninja Hattori-Kun for Famicom, which we will be testing. And you don't need to test instruction manuals. I got Witrix and Blades of Steel 99 from Pop Culture. So let's get to Worms World Party. By the way, if you hear any loud explosions in the background, my neighbors are shooting off fireworks right now, and it's the 4th of July weekend, so there's not really a whole lot I can do about that. So just gotta live with it. If you hear the noises, you gotta live with it too. But this is Worms World Party. Once again, thank you to Saramaru for picking this one up for me. It was right before the pandemic made it impossible for anybody to do anything, but in that brief period of time before that, he went to a con in Las Vegas, a trade expo or video game or electronics or anime expo of some kind. I don't know, but at that same convention, there was also a booth for Gamester 81. He had his Sydney Hunter and the Caverns of Death set up on display, so he also sent me a flyer for the game on Nintendo Switch that was autographed by Gamester 81. That was very nice of him to do for the Saramaru crew, and very nice of Saramaru to include with my copy of Worms World Party, which I did pay him for, so it's not like he sent me that for free, but it was, he picked it up for me, and I hadn't seen that game for Dreamcast anywhere here locally, so I was very, very appreciative of the fact that he was willing to pick it up while he was there at the show. He did basically a live camera and went around to all the different vendor booths and asked people in the Sarah crew, hey, if there's anything you want, let me know, and you can PayPal me, and I'll send it to you. And he did, and I did, and that's how I got this. So now we're just making sure it works. And it appears that was a quality vendor because it is a working game. No complaints here. I'm satisfied. Now on to Ninja Hattori-Kun, which was a $1 pickup from Japan for You on eBay right before, again, things went crazy with the pandemic, and the last package I ordered from Japan for You was sent by Japan Post and returned to sender because they did not even try to deliver it. I guess there were so few flights going from Japan to the United States or vice versa that Japan Post was like, nope to the nope, nope that out of here. And so I no longer can order from Japan for You without paying a flat $20 fee for DHL shipping, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting $1 Famicom games like Ninja Hattori-Kun, unless I'm going to order like 20 of them, and then I still have to pay a surcharge for each additional item beyond the first $20. So the math is not adding up for me at that point. When I could get a $1 Famicom game and only pay a couple of bucks for shipping, then it was pretty much worth it. But now I'm really going to have to bundle a whole bunch of things up if I ever want to place another order like that. Or maybe when this whole pandemic thing finally blows over, I'll be able to get some more Famicom games for decent prices. But this one was definitely worth a buck. You don't need to know English to play this. It's a side-scrolling game where you throw ninja stars, collect items, and defeat enemies, and traverse platforms that are in your way or that get you hidden items that you couldn't otherwise see. So it's a good game. It's not the greatest game. It's not the worst game. It's just a game. But For only $1, at least it's a playable game whether you know Japanese or not. We're getting closer to the end now. I've got a couple of boxes left to unbox and then I'll be caught up on everything. And this box contains Sonic and the Black Knight. I believe the most recent video on it was either Some Call Me Johnny or Ant Dude. Maybe they both did a video about it. If so, it's really weird that they both did one at exactly the same time, but I do remember that Some Call Me Johnny's video was more like, hey, I played this game 10 years ago on the channel and I was really edgy in my opinion about it and I was trying to be super hardcore and let's see if after 10 years my opinion has changed on it at all. And I watched his video and I thought, you know, I've never actually owned Sonic and the Black Knight. Let me give this one a shot. I do remember in at least one of the two reviews, they were complaining quite a bit about the music in this game. I guess you either really love it or you really hate it. There's no ambivalence when it comes to Sonic and the Black Knight, which also seems to be how the Metascores went for the game. In fact, I believe that Sega and Sonic Team delisted Sonic and the Black Knight because the reception to it was so mediocre that they didn't want it to bring down the overall ratings of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. They delisted quite a few Sonic games around that era that they just didn't consider to be up to snuff for the franchise. Apparently I'm not up to snuff either because I don't have a nunchuck handy, so I'm just going to have to live with knowing the disc works and actually play the game later. And for the grand finale of this video, something that I picked up in the 10 minutes that it was available on Best Buy before it completely sold out. And I'm so glad I did because scalpers have been reselling it on eBay for double the price and I was not willing to go that route. We have Ring Fit Adventure for Nintendo Switch. And this is something that I probably need pretty badly because I could get more exercise even when I'm not going to the gym. And I could go to the gym more often than I do, but you know how it is with the pandemic. They do tell you to stay home as much as you can. So if I am going to stay home, then at least I've got a fitness game that I can play and do something while I'm here as opposed to having to go to the gym to do it. So this should be, ironically enough, quite the adventure for the Retro Hunting Adventure. But I'm not going to demo the game in this particular video. I'm going to save that for another installment. I'm just going to unbox it to show you that inside is a Nintendo Switch game in the usual box, the plastic clamshell, if you will. And underneath the tray here, we have the actual ring of the titular Ring Fit Adventure. I'll take it out of the plastic wrap so you can all get a better look at it. And you plug your Joy-Con into the ring. I don't know if plug is the right word. Dock, install, place, tether. But you put it in there and then you squeeze the ring or move the ring up and down and it detects the motion. It also has a leg strap that you can put another Joy-Con into and make it measure your movements, standing, sitting, running, whatever. This should be fun. I'll demo it in a future video, but for now, this is Mr. MegaManFan saying thanks for watching.